Jigsaw, where we're here to practice English, have a chat, practice your speaking and communication skills, practice your conversation skills. So at the moment, we're testing out different times, seeing who's around at different times, just to practice, basically practicing English and practicing, like I say, conversation. It's all for you. You know, if you're an English language learner, or someone who's just casually studying even, and you want to practice English, sometimes the opportunity is not there to practice. We are here for you to practice. So we are here every day at 12 o'clock Universal Time. We have a show called Have a Tea with Me. That's, as I say, 12 o'clock Universal Time. That's an open chat for anyone, as is this. This is an open chat as well, and this is open to you. I haven't actually put the link in the chat, but I shall do that now. Let me just say, click here to chat. Wow, something simple, yeah? Let's do something simple. Okay, so I'm going to put that through. So if you do wish to chat, all you got to do is click on that, and we can have a conversation. We're going to be here for about half an hour or so, depending. You know, depends if anyone's around or not, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah, we'll call it as we see it. Let's do one thing. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna make a note of that. So we'll call it. Excuse me. We'll call it as we see it. So that basically means, depending on what happens, what we notice, how we evaluate how things have gone in whatever situation, then we will react accordingly to that situation. So we'll call it as we see it. So we'll see how we go anyway. So there is a link in there. If you do want to have a chat, by all means, click on that link. We can have a conversation in English, practice your English language speaking skills. So while I'm here by myself, actually, I'll just remind you as well. If there is, you know, you're not really sure what the best time is, or you think there is a better time to do a live stream where we talk and have a conversation, send me an email, chatonlistonjigsaw@gmail.com, and we can see if we can find a time. Let me know where you are, your time zone, what you'd like to talk about, and then also let me know what days and times you think is good to have a chat, and we'll see if we can arrange something, to organize something. Anyway, while I'm here chatting to myself, but if you do want to have a chat, certainly put a message in the comments or click on the link and you can come through and have a chat. While I'm here talking to myself, I'm going to chat about games. And I think, do you know all of the games here? Well, I guess there's two questions there. You guys, do you know all of the games here, and do you know how to play all of the games here? That's a different question. How to play or do? So if I look on the left, you see the letters there for Scrabble. So I think that's most. I think that's probably in most countries, or some form of creating letters. Or, I mean, certainly there's like a crossword, I guess, in most places, but giving it the letters certain values. I don't know. I guess it's in most countries. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's. I assume it's not just an English-only game. I assume there are other languages that have this game as well, but I'm not sure. But certainly there is the English version. But if you go up from there, So on the left-hand side of the picture there, you've got the Rubik's Cube. I'm not sure if we class this as a game. I'm not sure. What do you think? Is this a game? Is a Rubik's Cube a game? Because I think, I don't know, for what's the rule? What is the definition of a game for you? Because you don't necessarily need another person to play a game. You can play a game by yourself. But if this is there is a purpose to it. Like with Scrabble, the purpose is to get the highest score, the highest amount of points by putting the letters on. With Rubik's Cube, the aim is to get all of the faces with the same color in the fastest possible time. So maybe it's a sport. Maybe it's a sport because of that. So because if you think of, I don't know, like an athletics race, like 100 meters, the point is to get from there to there, or the hurdles even, by jumping over the barriers in the fastest possible time. So is that more of a sport then, rather than a game? But then what about if you're in a like a video arcade, you're playing an arcade game, and then the aim is to get to the end of that video game race, for example, like say it's a car racing game, to get there in the fastest possible time. Is that then a game, or is that a sport? If you're playing another person, does that make it more or less of a game or a sport? Because you're still racing against the clock. I don't know, maybe. What do you think? I'm classifying the Rubik's Cube as a game. See, I don't think you necessarily need tokens or a die to throw when you're playing a game. That's what I think. You tell me what you think. There are marbles as well. We have marbles near that, just next on the left of the G. Below that, what is there? Mahjong, I guess. I think that's Mahjong. Dominoes. Below that, we've got dice. And of course, with dice, you can be part of the game, or the dice can be the game. Different things. You also see at the bottom the balls for like snooker or pool, those sort of games. You've got card games, all sorts of this, hundreds, thousands of card games. And you've got the tokens, could be like a poker game, something like that. But of course, they can just be markers for like points. Yeah, so instead of marking the points as in 1, 2, 3, you just mark it with those little tokens, chips. You've got Twister there as well. That's a popular game, especially if you're more flexible and you can move the body parts around more easily. And then there's a version of tic-tac-toe there, noughts and crosses. That one there, you're not drawing, you're actually placing the nought or the cross on that board. So yeah, it's a nice game. What do you think? What's your favorite game? So let's say of these games, do you know these games? So we've got 1, 2, 3. Do you know these games? I don't know. Perhaps all of them or none of them in your country. I think number 2 is probably in most countries. Number 1, maybe, or a game similar, maybe played in a slightly different way, but perhaps similar games. And number 3, it depends on what you think the game is. So I have what I think the game is. Maybe you think the game is another option. But let's see. Okay, so the first one, hopscotch. Not sure if they have hopscotch in other countries. But certainly if you go to a lot of the English-speaking countries, I think if you go to you see like the kindergarten areas and that sort of thing, you'll you'll certainly see hopscotch squares, either like in the playground or somewhere there, or like in the picture here, you will see people drawing the squares and numbering them, or doing their own version. Number 2, chess. Like I say, I think that's sort of around in most sort of places. Maybe not. Maybe checkers or drafts is more common than chess, because you don't need the actual pieces like that. But I guess even with, if you wanted to, you could just use a draft boards, and on the chips there, you could type or write on the name of what that is relating to a chess set. So if it's like the king or the queen or the bishop, that sort of thing. And the card game, I don't know what you think, because it could be many different things. I think this card game is Snap. I think it's Snap. What do you think? Have you ever played Snap? Have you ever played any of these games or all of these games? I've played all of them, even hopscotch. When I was a young boy, I sometimes played hopscotch. I remember back in the school days, we would have hopscotch that we would play sometimes. Okay, let's have a look at one of these games. Let's have a look at Snap. So how do you play the game? And this is I guess with any game, this is sort of the conversation. Like if someone goes, do you want to play Snap? And someone go, Snap, what's that? And the questions are going to be, how do you play the game? Which is probably like more of a brief description. What are the rules? Which probably gets a bit more detailed, a bit more technical. And then how many people can play. And so and I guess a lot of games where you only need like 2 or 3 people, particularly if there's 2 people. I guess a lot of those you can play by yourself, depending on the actual function. If it's a matter of like a choice, or if it's let's say involuntary. So like maybe like the cards are upside down and you have to put them down. So really with Snap, I think like these people are there looking at the cards. So I'm assuming they've looked at the cards at the completion of a particular part of the game. Because you can see like the person on the right, the card they have is the same as, I think it's the same as the one at the top of the pile. And that gives us a clue to how we play the game. So generally you have the deck of cards, and then you can't see them, and you turn them over and you place it down on top of the other cards on the table. And then when you lift your hand off or you reveal the card, you see if it's the same as the one underneath. And if it is, you say Snap, and then you have to snap your hand down on top of the cards. And there's an easy way to tell the winner, because if you've got all these hands piled on each other, the hand at the bottom is the winner. So there's no, there's no argument really. I don't know if I've never come across, I suppose you could have it like where it's like a tie and the hands don't move and they're half and half, but I've never seen that happen. Because normally it's like a jewel, like the old sort of Western jewels that you might see in the movies, where people are sort of waiting to see, do I go, do I not go? And the aim is, if you put the hand out, you collect the cards. So the aim is to get all of the cards, basically. That's the purpose of the game. Now, the amount of people that can play are pretty much, well, I was going to say it's unlimited, but of course, well, maybe it's not unlimited. Depends on how many decks of cards you have. In the card deck, you have 52 cards normally. So depending on how many cards you have, or how many decks you have, maybe you can have more people. But I think for most groups, it might be, say, 4, 5, maybe 6 at the most people. But probably the ideal is probably 3 or 4. 3 or 4 is probably ideal. And again, if you have more decks, so if you have 2 decks, then that may be like 6 to 8 is the maximum you could play with. But any number sort of down from there would still work. And it can be a fun game, a very fun game. Okay, so now these questions. Let me know in the comments. Tell me in the comments, what games do people play where you are? Maybe it's some of the games that we've seen before, or other completely different games. So what games do people play where you are? Are there any games you used to play when you were a kid that you don't play now? So is there any game, or are there any games you used to play when you were a kid that you don't play now? Because I guess as we change, like I don't really play hopscotch now, nor Snap, unless I'm around kids, like in family and stuff, and maybe the kids want to play and stuff. So you play with the kids. Okay. And do people play different games nowadays compared to when you were growing up? So say when you were 10, do the 10-year-olds that you may see now play different games to when you were 10? And say like when you were like 15 or 20, 25, 30, maybe you play different games. Maybe it's there were less video games when you were growing up compared to now. Or maybe there were video games when you were growing up, but the sophistication, the complexity of the game has changed, or the way you play the game. I don't know, maybe you play a game where you play the game mobile anywhere you are, whereas before you had to sort of load a machine and have to wait for it. You have to be in a particular place and to be all the cables connected up, and now you can be mobile, you can be anywhere. Or maybe you use like a virtual reality type of thing. Who knows? So for those 3 questions, let me know in the comments, in the chat, what you think are the answers to those. So then, just a reminder that this is Lesson Jigsaw. We are here for English language conversation, and if no one else is here, I just talk to myself. But if you are an English language learner, you want to practice your conversation skills, practice your speaking skills every day. We are chatting at 12 o'clock Universal Time, and we are experimenting with other times as well, just to see when people are around and that sort of thing. But at 12 o'clock Universal Time every day, our program Have a Tea with Me is available there for you, and you can certainly join in just by clicking the link that you see in the stream. It's a different link for every stream, but you see the link, you click on it, and you can come and have a chat. And if there is a time you think that may be better to have a chat, send us an email, chatonlessonjigsaw@gmail.com. We can see if we can find a time to do a live stream that's better for you, better for me. We can see if we can find a time that's mutually agreeable. So we have that. Let us know, like, who you are, where you're from, like your time zone and stuff, and what days and times are better for you. So we have that. And so there are the options for you, and there are opportunities for you. So we hope you'd be interested to have a chat. We're here to try and, I guess, build confidence, build fluency, and build the opportunities, the amount of times that you can practice and practice using different vocabulary maybe you've learnt in a class, or that you've read somewhere in a book or seen somewhere, and you want to practice some different pieces of vocabulary. Of course, if you've got a list of 100 things, it's difficult to practice all of those, probably unrealistic. So like if you've got like 2 or 3 things, you can involve them in a conversation if they're appropriate and if they fit in, because that's part of the learning process as well, isn't it? That you need to say things in the right time. So maybe there's a particular expression that doesn't really fit in at a particular time. So it's a matter of learning that. And the way to learn that is to practice. And there's no getting away from needing to practice speaking, needing to practice writing. You have to produce. Like with anything you want to get better in, you need to do some producing. It's all very good to receive information, to read, to listen, and certainly they are skills that are very, very important, and that helps you certainly gain other things like to be in a conversation. Listening skills are of course important. Reading's very good for learning structure, getting more vocabulary, that sort of thing, just seeing different styles of how people write and communicate in different forms, because you can read different things, from reports to newspaper stories to novels to whatever, journals and whatever it could be. And so people will write differently for those, but there's no getting around the fact that generally if you're learning a language, you're going to be wanting to communicate with someone at some stage, and you can put it off if you want to. Of course, that's always a choice that you can make. But if you're always waiting for the day when you're sort of ready to go, when you're perfect, it's going to be a bit harder, because you're still going to stumble across the way, and there's no problem with that. But why not stumble earlier on? Why not try and use what you've gained and start developing that in a realistic way, in a real situation? Anyway, that opportunity is there for you. We hope you're having a pleasant day, and all of your English learning is progressing well. And if you would like us to contribute, that door is open for you. That opportunity is there. But don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, all that sort of stuff. And we hope to see you on a future live stream. But for now, thank you very much, and